Alright guys, so guess what? POCO is back with their brand new X7 series, and I happen to have both devices here with me, the non-Pro as well as the Pro. So in today's video, I just want to share with you a little bit on my thoughts, whether I think this is still of great value and what can you expect from the brand new X7 series. Let's jump into it right away. Now first things first, in terms of price, we are looking at a positive thing here because the non-Pro starts from RM999, whereas the Pro model starts from RM1299. Now just comparing these to its predecessor, the pricing is very close, if not the same. And just looking at phone prices these days, these guys here are actually very affordable. So let's check out what do they really offer you for that money. Now first things first, we got to talk a bit about the design. The design itself is a very subjective matter. Me personally, I do like the fact that the X7, the standard version, is now feeling more premium than ever. In fact, it feels even more expensive than the Pro. That's just my thoughts. But what I don't really like here is the POCO logo at the back, which is a little bit too big for my liking. I think it just screams POCO everywhere you're using it. Even if you go for the more subdued version, the one in silver, you also still get a very large POCO logo at the bottom. But having said that, it's IP68 rated. The overall feel is great, so I won't complain too much about that. Now moving on to the Pro model. Now this guy goes for a completely different approach. It's more boxy, very angular, and is complete opposite of the X7. Again, depending on what your personal preference is, some of you prefer flat phones, some of you prefer curved phones, so let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Oh, by the way, this is also IP68 rated, so both of them will survive underwater. Alright, so that's just in terms of the design. Let's move on and talk about the most important thing here, and that's about the chipsets. POCO is always giving us one of the best performance to value kind of chipsets, and that is again the case here with the Pro model. Now for the Pro model, is using the Dimensity 8400 Ultra chipset, and this is an all big core design structure. And just in terms of layman terms, what does it mean by all big cores? Now just think of this very simply. Most processors out there, they pair a combination of efficiency cores with performance cores. So it's a balance of both. But for the Dimensity 8400 Ultra, it's all performance cores, guys. So what can you really expect here in terms of your own use case? Well, basically the performance is going to be off the charts. It's very, very strong in terms of the Antutu scores and all that. I've been gaming quite a fair bit on this device here, and yeah, the performance is indeed great, and there was not a lot of overheating. Now there's only one small concern that I have here, and that's actually in terms of the battery life. Although this device comes with a 6000 mAh battery, which is supposed to be very big for a phone of this size, but I did notice that the battery was still dropping quite a fair bit for every game that I played. So yeah, hopefully there are more optimizations to come in the future because this processor is actually very promising. And one more good news is that the phone launches with Android 15 out of the box, which is great. Now moving on to the non-Pro model. Now this guy here launches with the Dimensity 7300 Ultra chipset, which is not really a big upgrade compared to its predecessor. The power is still good enough for your day-to-day use, but that's the keyword here. This is for day-to-day use and not a lot of heavy gaming. In terms of your RAM and storage, it's only LPDDR4X and UFS 2.2. That means it's not the fast RAM and fast storage kind of thing. But again, the keyword here is for your basic day-to-day usage. Alright, so in terms of performance, you can expect about just 10% increase compared to its predecessor. And one small complaint that I want to say about the non-Pro is also the fact that it launches with Android 14. I mean, we should be getting Android 15 by now. And also the fact that it has more ads compared to the Pro model. Yeah, I know you can turn them off, but it's still quite annoying in some of the native applications. So that's just in terms of the chipsets. Now let's talk about the cameras because they are a very similar effect. Again, let's start off with the Pro. We have only two sensors at the back here. It's very clear cut. You get a 50MP Sony IMX882 with OIS, and you get an 8MP ultra wide. Now it's a very similar story on the back of the standard X7, but you do get an extra 2MP macro lens. I think it's just to fit in the design, by the way. It's not really for any extra usage purpose. Well, in terms of the photo experience, since they both use the Sony IMX882 sensor, similar sensor, in terms of the pictures taken earlier on, I'm going to show you a side by side. They look almost similar, very, very similar. I can't really tell them too much apart, but if I were to nitpick really detail, I would say that the X7 Pro is slightly more saturated at times, so it's still very hard to differentiate between one over the other, and I would still categorize them as a similar quality. Anyway, the Sony IMX882 with OIS is a pretty basic sensor. You also see it in the CMF Phone 1 that costs like under 1,000 ringgit. So in terms of the cameras, not much changes to the POCO standing, which means they don't really put a lot of effort in that, but you still get a decent sensor. Alright, now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the displays at the front. Now, although one is flat and the other is curved, basically they have the same size, 6.67 inch. They're both 1.5K resolution. They both AMOLED displays. They're both 120 Hz and they're both very bright. I think up to 3000 nits or 3.2K nits. Yeah, it gets very bright outdoors. But essentially the main difference here is that one is flat and one is curved. I think it kind of makes sense because if you go for the more powerful device, which is the Pro model, you might be gaming on it a little bit more, and I know a lot of gamers out there appreciate a flat display. So that's great there. Now, last but not least, a quick note on the battery, because I did say that the Pro model isn't that great. It still charges up at 90 watts, which is quite quick, and does 0 to 100% in like 42 minutes. Yeah. Moving on to the non-Pro model, it comes with a 5110 mAh battery, and the charging speeds has been dropped. It now does 45 watts charging, so a little bit slower to 100%. Anyways, that's what you can pretty much expect from the POCO X7 series. Again, RM999 and 1299. Personally, I would say that if your budget allow you to, do add that 300 ringgit and just go for the Pro, because you're getting very strong performance, about the similar kind of cameras at the back. I know a lot of y'all also like that flat display, and the battery is slightly bigger. Hopefully it gets optimized, and the charging is faster. However, if you are someone who appreciates like the build quality, the feel of the phone, this curved phone feels more expensive than the Pro, and you're just using your phone for basic day-to-day needs, well, the X7 is also still worth considering. The fact that it's only RM999 is also a very strong encouragement. So yeah, those are what I would say for the POCO X7 and the X7 Pro. Anyway, ultimately, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think about the latest POCO X7 series. If you disagree with me, let me know your comments as well. I love to learn from you guys. Thank you for watching today's video all the way to the end. Don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel for more content, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Do take care, stay safe, and enjoy your day.